Yes, sir. I'd like to
We getting
pose some
close.
questions to the chief of police, to Chief Raymond, if he's there.
Chief Raymond.
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
Pretty good. I mean, I know this has been a long meeting, but I just have some questions. You know, y'all know how I get about my homework, and I'm just hoping you can answer a few questions for me today before we move on. I'll try not to keep you because you know how I get on Tuesdays about dinner. Can you tell me the differences between the different kinds of leave that y'all have, departmental, administrative, and human resources?
So we essentially have two different types of leave: departmental and administrative. Departmental is when either an officer has been charged with a crime, or we believe it's likely that an officer may be charged with a crime. That's departmental. Administrative leave can be for a number of other instances. It can be for a fit for duty if we question an officer's mental stability, or if they're being investigated for an administrative violation that is not criminal, something of that nature. So that's there's several different circumstances that fit into either of the two types of leave.
How do you determine whether it's a paid or unpaid leaves?
Generally, historically, an officer is on paid leave unless they are charged with a crime. And then by statute, if an officer is charged with a felony, he has to be left on leave without pay for at least 7 days. If he's charged with a misdemeanor, he may be placed on leave with pay for 7 days, after which I can make a decision as to whether that person needs to be placed on unpaid or unpaid leave. Now, currently, we do have 4 members on unpaid leave that are pending the completion of a administrative investigation. And I expect that will be challenged in civil service, and ultimately we'll have to get a ruling as to whether there's some disagreement between our council and some of the board members as to whether I can place a person on unpaid leave if they have not been charged with a crime. I think I can. My understanding is the board does not think I can, and so this will be a test case.
Is that with something that's currently been kind of public but is under investigation?
The specific instances of those?
Yeah. Are those 4, is that a specific thing where it's all the same case?
Correct, it is, yes.
Okay. How long is an SPD or jail employee able to be on each type of leave?
And again, that depends. Generally speaking, a person can be on departmental or administrative leave for up to 18 months. But it really just depends on the circumstances. For example, if a person is pending criminal litigation and we're waiting to determine what's going to happen in like a felony type of a case. But typically 18 months is the maximum amount of time.
Okay, thank you for this. I appreciate your patience with me. If an employee resigns and they're on departmental or administrative leave, are they eligible for rehire?
They would not be eligible for rehire from the police department, generally speaking. So if we've opened an investigation into an individual and that person then resigns, before we complete it, we still complete the investigation and we still classify it. So we'll complete to the best of our ability, and just say, for example, a sustained complaint that will remain within their file. Now, if a person retires prior to us starting an administrative investigation, then we don't begin one after the fact because they're no longer an employee, in which case, technically, they might be eligible for rehire. It would be based on some historical knowledge from the administrative staff as to why that person left previously.
So someone could be on the brink of an investigation, resign, the investigation goes away, and they could be eligible for rehire.
Technically, yes.
When were the officers involved with the arrest of Tommy McLaughlin placed on leave?
I don't remember the exact date, but it would have been the end of May, somewhere around the 26th, 28th, maybe in that range.
Can you tell me the names of I'm wondering, about the McLaughlin case, the state police investigators, can you give me the names?
Of the state police investigators?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. May I interject a suggestion, Mr. Chairman, Madam Vice Chair? I don't mean to interrupt anyone, but I'm concerned about our having a discussion about the specifics of that investigation, and
This is stuff that should all be subject to a public records request and nothing that gets into the investigation.
Well, I do understand, and that may be true, but I'm reluctant to name in a public meeting, investigators working on a case of this nature, and I just wonder if we shouldn't exercise discretion in that, even if it's technically subject to public records law. Thank you.
But the Louisiana State Police are consulting on the Tommy McLaughlin case. Are they doing it in conjunction with the SPD at the request of SPD?
So they're doing it at the request of SPD, yes. Not in
Is that a
conjunction.
criminal investigation or an administrative investigation?
No, that has to be criminal. Administrative is done within the agency.
Okay. Is there dash body security camera footage of the Tommy McLaughlin case?
There is mobile video camera footage from vehicles. From police vehicles, yes.
But that's it. No body cams, and no security camera footage.
There is audio from a security camera, and there is some footage. So yeah, both the mobile video, private security camera, no body camera.
The city of Shreveport has indicated that it's not able to fulfill certain public records requests. Can you speak to this? Because they're waiting for information from SPD to fulfill those requests.
To my knowledge, we've provided the information that's been requested, and I can tell you we've gotten overloaded with public records requests within the last few weeks, and we fill them as quickly as we can. There's quite a bit of discussion in the legal realm, I believe, as to what information is subject to a public records request and open investigation, which is why we submit all those documents to the attorney. But that'd be something that I ask Ms. Krill or someone else to speak on behalf of, if they're waiting on documents from us or whether they can release the documents we've provided.
Okay, well, she's not here, so I guess I'll have to ask her at a different time. In this year so far, 2 SPD recruits were reported as having resigned, with their statuses later being changed to terminated. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. So we had 2 recruits in this current academy class that essentially walked off from the job during a physical training session. And I believe were insubordinate to some academy instructors. And so although they didn't technically say I resign, that was a violation of our policy for a cadet. So they were essentially terminated.
Okay. This is my last question. If an SPD officer is on administrative or departmental leave, are they also at that same time eligible for recognitions and honors and awards?
There's nothing that would say they're not. We don't have a policy or procedure that they could not be recognized. I think a lot of it would depend on the nature of the leave, why they're on departmental administrative leave, as well as the recognition, the reason for the recognition.
Okay. All right. That's it for now. I appreciate you. Thanks.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Thompson. Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Since Chief Raymond,
Yeah.
since we have him here, just two. I have two-part questions. Just first, did we get the DA's office the requested material that they asked for?
To my knowledge, they have all the materials they have requested at this time. I reached out to the DA earlier and let him know if there was anything still outstanding, let me know. And to my knowledge, we filled all the requests.
Okay. And on the assistant chiefs, how many assistant chiefs we have?
We have 4 assistant chiefs.
Okay. And you know the years, how long they've been with the department?
From 34, 35 years up to the most tenured assistant chief hits 40 this year. 40 years of service.
And do those actual persons go out on the street, or are they doing office work?
I mean, they go on a street as part of a command ride-out program, and they certainly go out somewhat at a supervisory level. But no, generally at the assistant chief level, the classification in civil service law is that you assist with the administrative functions of running the police department. So they supervise the 4 different divisions of the police department.
Okay, and is there some way that I can get a copy of the specific job function, and that can be email or whatever at some point?
Yep.
Okay.
Certainly.
All right. That's all I had. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes,
And I would still, I guess it's probably, since I'm getting some friction from my colleague, I would still like off the record the names of those investigators at a future point.
Yeah, I wouldn't know them, Councilwoman. I'd have to reach out to Louisiana State Police and find out exactly who they've assigned that to. I mean, I know some of the state police investigators, but I don't know all of them. I'm not even sure. I'd have to ask Captain Williams or possibly Captain Turner, who's the investigations commander.
If you're able to find out, I would be really appreciative.
All right, I'll let them know you're asking.
Thank you.
One question.
Yes.
Chief Raymond,
Yes, ma'am.
when we have an officer that is out on administrative leave, and while on administrative leave, the same offense is created, what is the state statute says on that?
Are we talking about a criminal matter or administrative?
Administrative.
So there's not really a statute. It would be additional evidence for an administrative investigation. It's not, if it's strictly an administrative investigation, it's not criminal in nature, then it would just be an additional infraction of our administrative policies, or an additional alleged infraction. Is the way it would be treated.
Can I piggyback on that? I'm sorry.
So if we have someone that is out on leave, creates the same infraction, is it within our power to fire if it's a fireable offense, or since there's no state statute?
It's within our power after we conduct an investigation. The officer still has to follow the Bill of Rights. So you still have to give them a notice of the investigation. You have to allow them 30 days to obtain counsel if they so desire before they make any statements. You have to provide them with the Loudermill hearing, which we consider a pre-disciplinary hearing. And then we would determine at the pre-disciplinary hearing, or within 5 days thereafter, generally at the hearing, what level of discipline is sufficient. So it would be treated essentially as a separate investigation.
Okay, so it's investigation like within the investigation.
It'd be a second investigation. So it'd basically be more than one administrative investigation taking place at the same time, but the timelines would be different. So what you can't do is start an administrative investigation, have another violation, and culminate it with that first investigation. It's a separate alleged offense. It's a separate investigation.
So that's per civil service statute?
It's per Louisiana Officer Bill of Rights. Yes.
Thank you.
I want to piggyback off of that. Is there a maximum time an employee can be placed on leave, on any of these types of leave, before termination proceedings begin?
A maximum time you can be.
Oh, no. How many times can a person be put on leave? Is there a maximum number of times a person can be put on these types of leave before they are actually considered for termination?
No, because the leave is not necessarily, you're not placed on leave necessarily because you're going to be terminated. You're placed on leave because it's affecting the efficient operation of the police department, or because you're, pending a criminal investigation that would obviously could affect your job as a law enforcement officer. So there's not, I think to answer your question, there's not a maximum number of times you can be placed on leave pending a termination.
So discipline isn't progressive and compounding at any point ever.
No, it is. It is, but each of those instances we treat it separately. So if you have an officer that is placed on leave because of an alleged violation, and this say it's a sustained complaint, which means we did find the officer committed that violation, and it's not egregious, which means it's not at the level of termination, then you would provide discipline. If the officer committed a second offense of similar nature, 3 months later, you might place them on leave again, again, depending on the circumstances affecting the fishing operations department, you would conduct a second investigation. You would expect that discipline will be progressively more severe than the first offense. And it really just depends on, what level of offense we're talking about, as to whether it's egregious enough to the first offense should be terminating, or it might be the 10th offense that's egregious enough to be terminating. So you're talking about an officer that's been tardy for work? Are we talking about an officer that got in a fist fight off duty and used a weapon or something like that, right? So it just really depends on the level of the infraction.
Okay. Thank you. You've been most helpful.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, no further.
Chairman,
Yes.
Chief, while you're still on, I know you and I have talked about body cams, and I shared with you that myself and Councilman Nicholson met with a company that was fairly impressive with the body cams. Where are y'all right now with body cams?
So we actually have got 3 or 4, I guess they're quotes, for lack of a better word, of what we can expect to pay. We found one that is quite a bit less expensive than all the others. And I've got my chief administrative assistant is actually about to write a bid. We have to go out for an intent for bid, where essentially we have to indicate this is what we'd like to see in a body camera. And then every company that meets those requirements can submit a bid, and we essentially take the low bidder. But we have found one that is quite a bit less expensive than the numbers I've been throwing around for the last year or so.
Do they have a pretty good track record? Do other agencies in the area use them?
And that's one thing we're checking into now. We've also sent the information, I believe, to IT to make sure that the server that they will provide as part of their quote will meet our needs. I'm going to make sure that we can store the amount of data we're going to have for a lengthy enough time frame to know that we're not going to need it again, if that makes sense.
Yes, sir. What kind of time frame?
We're close to coming up. We're hoping to have some numbers soon. We've also got 2 private vendors that are going to pretty much cover the costs, it looks like, at least for the first year. So
Wow.
a couple of $100,000 at least that they're going to be paid by private entities at this point.
Awesome. Okay, so you're thinking maybe in the next month or so you'll have something.
I hope so. Yes, sir. Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Chief.
Mr. Thompson.